got engaged as a result of hearing about the kind of work we do. And he's very troubled indeed by what goes on. And it's become a national campaigner for children. So I introduce Susan.
Well, I thank you. I'm going to stand here as well. I think you've got to be 6'2" to get over that computer. So I'm also very glad you've heard from 3 people who have a huge amount of expertise, and I'm the one on the panel who doesn't. So I'm very happy to be the one that truncates what I have to say. So I'm here today as much because I was interested both to hear the other speakers and to hear comment, frankly, from the floor. A lot of what we've heard today, if you like, it is at the granular level. Aspects of the system that may be working or may not be working well, or where we need to pay attention. I don't in any way want to suggest that those issues are not important. Issues like court fees that were addressed sort of very early on. All of that inherently matters, and all of that is key. But the question that I was asked is, current issues for children in need, I think from the perspective of a pretty ordinary member of Parliament. And I think the question that is now arising, certainly in my mind and the mind of my colleagues, is the system simply fundamentally flawed? Because it's not really delivering in any direction. And is this the point where we have to start doing a serious rethink about the whole way, not dismantle a system and recreate a system, but the whole way in which we approach the issue of families and families that have problems, and the way in which the state simply intervenes and how it must intervene. And it came about for me because the Cassell, as Roger said, and I think it's the most amazing institution, that is in my constituency. And I got involved at the point where it became evident that judges were no longer willing to refer cases to the Cassell, which I assume people here know its background, but it's the only NHS sort of therapeutic centre that provides both assessment and therapeutic intervention. That's for some of those complex families with mental health issues in the family. Finding that the judges were no longer in a position where they could even refer people for treatment because of interpretations by the law lords of the Children's Act, which essentially left the power with local authorities to decide if they would pay for those expensive treatments or not, or whether they would choose some other route. And facing that reality, judges said, well, why even send children or families to the Cassell for assessment? Because if the assessment determines that treatment, that's a therapeutic residential treatment, will work, it's not going to be provided because local authorities simply aren't going to put up the funding for it. So why even bother to go through the assessment process? And it seemed to me to underline a huge fundamental flaw in the system. I then started to talk to John and saw the problem coming from the other direction, where in a sense a failure to assess and to intervene was leading to social services choosing, for example, an adoption and often a forced and fast-track adoption route, where it was entirely inappropriate or where another route would have been possible, but would have held the family together and held it together significantly. And we could just see from both directions. We had social services both overreacting in some cases and pushing children both into care and adoption, with one set of families and with another set of families overlooking the level of crisis and not intervening, and you end up with sort of the baby pea kind of cases. And we started to say, look, something is wrong at the centre here. Something is going wrong in this whole process of assessment, and something is going wrong with the range of therapeutic treatment that is available. And when I started to talk with families in my own community, some of the complexities became incredibly evident. So where we would have a family and a child, clearly some level of risk, and I would talk to social services, and it was, so they would find themselves in a kind of partnership relationship to try and find a solution with that family. But by the time we looked at the number of partners, by the time you had children's social services, adult social services, the local housing association, the police in various forms, the youth offending unit, safer neighbourhood teams, sometimes families living across that local borough boundary, so you had 2 or 3 sets of all of these. the notion of partnership, while absolutely wonderful, was producing such levels of complexity that there was no single agenda, and almost impossible to get common working, so to try and get problems resolved. And so families were finding themselves in the system, but not actually getting solutions for the system. And I can see that that kind of level of complexity needs some sort of fundamental rethinking. So in those in the kind of direction that I've been taking through with my party, is to try and ask if we have to fundamentally look at how we do both assessment and how we do therapeutic care. I find it appalling that the Cassell, which can really cope on a good year with something like 20 families, is actually responsible for covering all of England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. We don't have a regional capacity with their kind of expertise and provision located in various places across the country. And that we haven't started to use places, and Cassell or its equivalent, as hubs to be able to reach out into the community and provide real support for social services and for families, to be able to give that really expert assessment that would allow you to get reasonably rapidly to an understanding of just how at risk this particular family is. And to be able to support social workers who, like it or not, are generalists, that's with the kind of specialist understanding, to be able to identify what the real level of risk is for this family, and who is the sort of gathering, if you like, who can get around providing solutions. So those are the kind of issues that I've been trying to get us to move towards. So to try and get a much better grip on assessment in the first place, and recognising and fully taking on board the level of therapeutic intervention and treatment on the other. And still understanding that there will be many cases where children do have to be within families. But if you can do it through a constructive process, you end up, I suspect, with not only just a better outcome for the parents who may have lost that child, but for the child. And we all know how frequently children moved into care, or as John has pointed out, into adoption, actually find themselves in a new failed situation. I was absolutely stunned that we wrote to all the local authorities in the country and said to them, how many of the children that you have in care are there because there is a mental health issue in the family? Half didn't respond, that's normal, and about half did, and the overwhelming response we got was, we don't track information like this because it's not required by Ofsted. A few that did respond in detail said to us, we really don't have numbers because we don't track this information, but our estimate is that it's close to 100%. So there is a fantastic mental health implication in all of this that doesn't necessarily get addressed or treated. And it bothers me hugely that that track, if you like, is much more centrally integrated. I'll make one last comment. I know we're past the time. I just want to say this. We all talk about early intervention and the importance of early intervention, and it trips very easily off the track. But to actually get political parties to commit to making that a real priority is in fact a huge challenge. And I've just come up with some proposals for parental leave and for much earlier, that's universal quality childcare. But that's been hard enough to sell within my party. But the whole issue around early intervention, I think, is still one that is language only and doesn't have the resource behind it. And the rationale for it, so that people understand, is this, because this is the battle we're going to have to win. If you propose a programme and it is costly, and frankly, I know we all say resources don't matter, but you know, that's